Alrighty. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to WCAT The Den. I'm Ethan.
I'm Matthew.
And I'm Luka.
And what are we going to do today?
Talking about sports.
Yep, this is our 14th episode, and once again, we're back here on the Zoom, and we're going to be having a more organized, so to speak, podcast now that Luka is here with us and joining us, our special guest, so to speak. And we're going to try and stay, as I said, organized, and it's going to be pretty fun to listen to.
All right. Thank you, Ethan. Today we're going to discuss one of the craziest trades that shocked the NFL world, in which four-time Pro Bowler wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins of the Texans was traded to the Arizona Cardinals in exchange for running back David Johnson, a 2020 second-round pick, and a 2021 fourth-round pick. All right, Ethan, I'm going to start with you. Will Bill O'Brien trading away Hopkins, which team will perform better next season, the Texans or the Cardinals?
I think we could all take one straight opinion and all agree on one thing, that Bill O'Brien was on something when he made this trade. The thing that they said, Sports Radio 610 actually did a direct interview with him, and they got a quote saying, this is what O'Brien said about the trade. He said he had 3 years left on his deal, and he wanted a raise, and we couldn't go that direction. We felt like we had an excellent deal with Arizona. Those are his exact words when he came on the radio. Just because Hopkins, the best player in the league who deserves more money, wanted a raise in his contract, it should have been well-deserved, but I don't know what O'Brien was on. I mean, literally, he's 99 overall in Madden. He's one of the best hands in the league. They call him Nuke for a reason, and you're telling me you're just going to get rid of him for David Johnson and a few picks? They couldn't even get a first-rounder for DeAndre Hopkins, which is just amazing to me, or just bewilders me how he couldn't do that. But giving away that much, or just getting David Johnson for that, and then Arizona putting him in the new high-powered offense that they have, and just getting Hopkins to add on to that entire offense just only makes them better. And that's why I think Arizona is going to obviously have a way better team, or way better job with Hopkins than whatever the heck Bill O'Brien got for Hopkins.
I think that I'll answer your question first, Luka, with who will be better, the Texans or the Cardinals. The Texans just threw away their entire franchise, so I'm going to say Arizona. They have built a really strong offense there. They have an up-and-coming running back in Kenyon Drake. They got an up-and-coming quarterback in Kyler Murray, and the best receiver in the NFL in DeAndre Hopkins. Now, I think the concern is that their defense is very weak. So the Cardinals are going to have some issues making playoffs, but in terms of who's better, they'll be better. As for the Texans, I feel as though they have a lot of weaknesses that they cannot solve now. Lack of receivers, lack of strong running game, because they get Lamar Miller and Johnson. Duke Johnson. Oh, yeah, right. Lamar Miller, Duke Johnson, and David Johnson are all very solid running backs, but I don't know what kind of effect they'll have on some of the best defensive lines in the game. And defensively, they're just an okay team. They won't be enough to do anything really in the AFC.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys have really good points. Ethan, Bill O'Brien, I think he actually did say that. That's absolutely blasphemous that he said that, because you just traded away a wide receiver in his prime for basically a messed up contract and not even a first-round pick. So there you go. I'll start with the Texans. Starting next season, I expect absolutely nothing positive from them whatsoever. Yes, they got Kenny Stills, they got Will Fuller, and those guys can play, and we get that, right? Deshaun Watson still hasn't available to those weapons. But the thing that I don't get, how is Bill O'Brien still the GM in Houston when he got less for Hopkins when the Giants actually got more for Odell Beckham Jr.? That's what I don't get. So when you look at Hopkins, arguably probably the best hands in football, he was targeted by Watson about 150 times for 195 passes. That's pretty good. And last season, he performed really well, about 3,800 yards, he completed 67% of his passes, 26 touchdowns with 12 interceptions. And remember, they won the AFC South with a 10-6 record. They beat Buffalo in that wild card where Deshaun Watson pulled out some magic. And they lost to Kansas City in the divisional playoffs. Now, what I'll say about that is I am definitely concerned about the Texans' defense next season. What happened in the KC game, I think they let up like 35 points in that second half. But They choked. Yes, they did. But let me get to this point. Yeah, let me get to this point, though. Yes, the Cardinals will be a better team. Now, Kyler Murray, I was very surprised how well he performed last year, even though they were only 5-10-1 last year. I mean, he completed 64% of his passes, about 3,700 passing yards, 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. But you got to remember something about their offense. Yeah, they had a 16th ranked offense and all, but they had Larry Fitzgerald, Christian Kirk, and then this other guy named Edmonds. That's not exactly lighting it off, okay? Now you're inserting a piece in DeAndre Hopkins. This team will be way better. They have Kenyon Drake as their all-starting running back, like Matt told us. Do I think they'll make the playoffs? No, but I think they will have a better shot of getting a better record next season.
Yeah, and going
May I
along
add something real quick?
Yes, before you can add something.
All right. I think the Cardinals, with there now being 7 spots in the playoffs, which we'll discuss in a little bit, I think that the Cardinals do have a chance. I don't think they'll make it, but depending on how the NFC trickles and how the NFC East, let's see if the Cowboys choke again. The Cardinals can definitely get a chance if they can build their defense just a little bit more. I think they have a chance.
Yeah, and then going back to DeAndre Hopkins and how you were talking about how much of a piece he was to this offense of Houston. He literally had 1,065 yards, and that's as a team, the Texans had 4,000 yards. He had more than a fourth of the entire team's receiving yards by himself, and getting rid of that is literally your entire offense at this point. Now they're going to have to go find – I mean, their leading receiver right now is Kenny Stills. The last time Kenny Stills was the number 1 wide receiver was when he was in Miami during their down years. Now he's going to be stuck here in these down years of the Texans. And I know other people are going to be saying, oh, Will Fuller is going to be their next new wide receiver. Well, Will Fuller can't survive 2 weeks in a row during the season. He's constantly injured, and he was injured the entire season last season. Fantasy-wise, he was a struggle for anyone trying to pick him up on that waiver wire, because the waiver wire people always kept telling you pick him up. He's going to be coming back. 2 weeks later, you pick him up, screws you over, and gets knocked out on a knee injury or an ankle injury, which he was bothering with the entire time. But going back to Hopkins, I mean, getting rid of your best player for pocket change and just nothing, and then having your coach and the GM saying it was an excellent deal. An excellent deal. In what world is an excellent deal getting rid of your franchise player, the number 1 player, someone you never should change, and someone that your fan base of entire Houston believes in? Just get rid of him for you couldn't even get a 1st-round pick. Stephon Diggs got the Vikings got a 1st-round pick for Stephon Diggs, and he's Stephon Diggs. He's a good wide receiver, but he's not Hopkins level. And Hopkins, they only got a 2nd-round pick in an old aging running back who's not or lost all his potential. He was supposed to be one of the best running backs in the league. I mean, if Bill O'Brien was looking at articles 3 years ago, I mean, maybe that's probably why he accepted it, because that's when David Johnson was in his prime. But after he messed up his wrist, David Johnson has never been the same. And I don't know what Bill O'Brien is thinking. I mean, it's just a bad deal. And I don't know what else to say. I mean, come on. You just screwed the Texans season, and now they're going to be stuck in Tankville for the next 2-3 years at least.
Yeah, Ethan, you bring up a lot of good points there about not Kenny Stills. Was it Will Fuller or Kenny Stills you say cannot stay?
It's Kenny Stills and Will Fuller, both their wide receivers. I say Kenny Stills is going to be the number 1 wide receiver just because he plays in the slot, and Sean Watson really plays more in the slot. That's where Hopkins used to play, right?
Yeah.
Was he a wide? He was in the slot? Okay.
You're right.
That's so now that
you bring a lot of good points there, definitely, about the injuries occurring and all that. They don't have a chance whatsoever next season. It's going to be a disaster. And
unless Randall Cobb returns to Green Bay for him.
Oh, I forgot Randall Cobb. They replaced him or Hopkins with Randall Cobb.
Yeah.
I mean,
Cobb won't have an impact.
That's not a replacement.
Yeah.
No.
Remember, Randall Cobb was on the Cowboys last year, and no one, he was on the Cowboys? Yeah.
No one knew he was there. Nobody knew he was even there.
So, I mean, once you get Randall Cobb in there, he has the Dallas boys failure on him, so they may fail again. Who knows? And now I talk about Deshaun Watson. I'm going to talk a little bit about him because, he just lost one of his best receivers. One of his best friends on Instagram is posting pictures about him when he heard about the trade and all. If I were Deshaun Watson, I would walk into Bill O'Brien's office and I would tell him, I want out because he has no chance of success now. None. And if I were him, and I wish the Bears would have gotten him for the number 2 pick, we know what all happened with that. But I feel bad for Deshaun Watson. I think he should get better, and he should ask for out of Houston.
I agree. I think that, as we'll talk about in a second, I think the Patriots would literally be, the perfect fit. They need somebody who can replace.
Oh, no.
Yes. I think that if there's one perfect fit for Deshaun Watson, it's at a team that seems to be, definitely on their way downhill. And so I think putting him in a better situation where at least their GM is not very stupid.
Hold on a second. You're telling me Deshaun Watson should go to the New England Patriots. Okay. You're telling me that the New England Patriots have more weapons than the Houston Texans.
I'm not saying that, but their defense, yes, they've lost a couple of pieces, but they still have Stephon Gilmore, one of the best, if not the best corners in the league. They still have an elite defensive line, and I think that the Patriots will, and their special teams, never forget about their special teams. Okay. The Patriots, with Bill Belichick there, are still a team that will make the playoffs this year, whether you like to believe it or not. They will. And Deshaun Watson can definitely help the Patriots get at least 10 wins, get somewhere where they can be a respectable team in the AFC, maybe not a championship contender, but a respectable team nonetheless.
I mean, you don't have a bad point there. It's just that the thing is, the defense is very good. They were ranked number 1 overall last year. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
He went 12-4 under Tom Brady. He was compromised of weapons. The thing I worry about Deshaun Watson is he only has Edelman. I mean, the other guys, Lacassi, Dorsett, Myers, all those guys, who are they? And they can never get open. So that's the thing I worry about Deshaun Watson. Otherwise, you would have a really valid point right there.
The only difference is Deshaun Watson could give more time because he could get out of the pressure. He could escape all the pressure compared to Brady, who sits down and he doesn't want to move. But they have one of the best offensive lines in the league. But we'll get to that later, more towards when we start actually talking about New England. But I think, Deshaun Watson, if he gets there, he probably would. It's a better situation for him to get into. If he were going to go to any team, that's the only team really looking for a quarterback. Like a starting quarterback, really, it still is willing to trade for one too. I think in the league, maybe the Chargers, but they said they wanted Tyrod Taylor, and they look like they're going to be sticking with him. So I think that's just how it's going to be.
Yeah, that's a good point. And we get back to DeAndre Hopkins for a moment here. With him going to Arizona right now, do you guys see them getting in the playoff hunt? Do you see them making the playoffs? What do you see exactly with the addition of him?
I'll take this one real quick. I think that Arizona, not this year, but next year, will be a playoff team. I think give them a year to get a feel for Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, get that duo working strong, maybe draft a defensive guy, and then next year they'll be a legitimate threat in the NFC.
Yeah, and I don't know. If Arizona is going to look to get that one guy, they're going to have to either get it through free agency or through the draft, like Matt said. This year is not the year to push for the playoffs and give it everything they got. If I were them, they have way too much young talent besides losing Larry Fitz, who probably is on his last year. Everyone else on that team, if they really want to push for have a real chance for the Super Bowl, I think they have to wait at least 1 or 2 more years and build up their team before they try and push for the next step, which would be towards the playoffs and eventually the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you bring a good point there. Their defense is, just like you both said, they're not very good. I think they rank the bottom of the league. I saw multiple occasions last year. I'm not a Cardinal fan, but I watched a couple of their games when they played the Rams at the time. I felt bad for Kyler Murray because he was making some really clutch passes. He was scoring some touchdowns, and then the defense just gave it up in a couple of drives. So in order for Arizona to thrive, that defense needs to wake up. They got to add a couple of pieces, and I think they'll be good in the near future.
I agree, and somebody that they might want to add, if they have the money this year, I think we discussed this last episode, Ethan, Jadeveon Clowney. Still out there waiting for a team to sign him. He's looking for about $17 million a year, which is a little too much. But if they want a guy that they can sign, make some immediate defensive adjustments, then Clowney's the guy.
Yep. I mean, Clowney is one of the better defensive ends in the league, and wherever he goes, he's going to be bringing the game plan because no matter where he is, they usually have one or two linemen already, like, the eyes go towards him no matter what defense he's on. I mean, Seattle, they were always double teaming him, just like how you saw Khalil Mack. I mean, Khalil Mack had a down year, but they were even at some points triple teaming him. So, like, defensive ends that have that much, like, respect for all these defenses get more offensive linemen, and that'll lead for these younger guys that may not have a bigger name to have an opportunity to step up and get those sacks. Just like, once again, with the Bears defense, I mean, Khalil Mack was getting triple team. That means the rest of the defensive ends had great years. The young guys were able to, like Roquan Smith and the linebackers, able to get a bunch of sacks and a bunch of tackles with ease because when you're triple teaming a guy, it's pretty hard for the rest of the guys to get one-on-one blocks every single time and to win every single time. So bringing a guy like him and getting, like, the top-notch star defensive ends is big in this NFL because wherever you go, they're going to be double teaming him, maybe even triple teaming him. I don't know at his age if he really has that much steam left in him, but I think wherever he goes, they're going to he helps the defense around him and improves them. So that's why he really would fit. And other than anyone, I don't really think there really is anyone else defensive end wise or defensive front wise that's still really available. So I think the only guy left would be for Arizona to go after Jadeveon Clowney.
Now that Brady has moved on from New England and is headed to Tampa Bay, the Patriots are indeed Bradyless for the first time in 20 years. So now we'll be discussing how the Patriots will indeed fill that QB void.
Through the draft, I think there's a lot of good quarterbacks that are available in this draft that aren't going to go super high first round. Like, there's two others, Justin Herbert, there's Joe Burrow. They're going to be off the board. But there's players like a Jordan Love out of Utah State that I think easily fit that mold. They either go through the draft or they surprise everybody and stick with the quarterbacks that they currently have in Brian Hoyer and Jarrett Stidham. Brian Hoyer knows that franchise so well that I wouldn't be surprised if they give him a year and they tank this year. Or they use Jarrett Stidham, their fifth-round pick from last year, and try and build along those lines for the franchise. It's not completely out of the question. Stidham had great experience at Auburn, and so there you go.
Yeah, I have a lot more to say about this, but I'm going to put this stat out there to begin with before I even start. Bill Belichick went 13-6 without Brady starting. During the Deflategate, during all the time he was injured when he tore his ACL, he has a better win percentage without Brady than with Brady, believe it or not. So if you look at that from, like, a spectrum, that shows that Belichick can indeed win without Brady. I mean, they had tons of quarterbacks, and, like, when I go back to the Deflategate in 2016 when Brady got suspended during those first 4 games, they had to use 2 different quarterbacks. They had to use Garoppolo and they had to use Brissett. No offense to them, but, I mean, they are successful now because they all both got – or Brissett used to have a starting job. He just got it taken this year, but Garoppolo is a starting job who just made it all the way to the Super Bowl. But during that time when Brady missed those first 4 games, they won the first 3 straight games coming out right out of the gate. And I mean, the 4th game they got shut out completely by the Bills. But going 3-1 without your starting quarterback out of nowhere, kind of a thing when he got suspended, is pretty good. And it shows that Belichick can indeed adjust to the system without Brady, and that's why I think they're going to be able to do it. And then going back to what you said about Stidham, the great guy out of Auburn. I mean, he was decent in Auburn. He had 36 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He was all right, but apparently the Patriots see something in him that we don't, and they said the Patriots have already come out and said, I believe, according to all the NFL scouts, who they believe that's just going to be a quarterback competition between Stidham and Hoyer, and they're just going to be taking turns, probably having Hoyer start off the first few games until Stidham earns his job on the team, and then they'll put Stidham right away into the offense, and eventually we'll see with this defense if they could stay stable, and if Stidham could actually come out proving Belichick's system could really work, and it could finally prove that Brady's a system quarterback.
Yeah, both of your points are very good. The draft, I can definitely see the Patriots drafting Jordan Love for sure from Utah State. I can see that. But let me just start with this. We know Brady, he won 6 Super Bowls, played in 9 with the Patriots, and had an NFL record of 249 total wins. That's pretty impressive. Now we know he's gone. He's with Tampa Bay. So now we're left with Jarrett Stidham, and we have Brian Hoyer. Brian Hoyer, as we know, I call him the journeyman because he's never actually really been a starter. So what I can see, there's a couple of possibilities. So I'll list a couple of possibilities. So we know Cam Newton and Jameis Winston, they're intriguing free agent possibilities, but we both know they come with significant baggage, right? Newton has problems staying healthy, and he hasn't won an NFL start since 2018. He has those 8 straight losses still dating back to 2018, the lateral part of the season. And we know Jameis Winston, Defensive Player of the Year, if you guys didn't know about that.
Wow,
30
I can't believe it.
Yeah, I know. 30 interceptions, 5 lost fumbles, and threw an NFL record of 7 pick sixes. So when it comes to this, you're going to take a flyer, an NFL veteran in Cam Newton, who potentially has a large salary cap hit, turn to a long-term backup in his mid-30s in Brian Hoyer, or you can pick in a third-day draft rookie and a cheap rookie contract who has an elite arm and knows Belichick's system, as well as a high football IQ. And, I mean, personally, I think they should give Jarrett Stidham a chance because we don't know what he has, but according to the organization, he has a lot of potential. As a Patriot, he appeared in 3 games last year. I think one of them was for the Jets. He completed about 2 of 4 pass attempts for 14 yards and threw an interception, but we don't know his full potential. As well, I don't really want him walking into the situation with a lack of weapons because the Patriots have nothing but Edelman, basically. But if they decide, in my opinion, I like Matt's idea better, is go out into the draft and draft Utah State man Jordan Love. I like him a lot. He passed for 20 touchdowns last year, 17 interceptions. And obviously that will scare some people off, but I wouldn't put too much stock into that because the entire talent he has that he lost from 2018. In 2018, he had 32 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. But last year, Utah State, they lost a lot of their offensive pieces and defensive pieces. So either draft Jordan Love or gives Jarrett Stidham a chance.
So before Matthew pitched in, I was lucky enough to have a friend that's a New England Patriots fan. So I had to ask him about this whole entire situation. His name is Joy Vitale. He goes to our school. When I asked him, what he thinks about Brady being gone and how the Patriots fill the void, he gave me a 4-word answer. In Belichick, we trust. And that kind of shows how the Patriots fans are believing because whatever Belichick really does, I mean, he's shown that he's a mastermind at whatever he does, and he's able to find anybody and everybody. He found Brady in the 7th round and turned him into the GOAT. So if there's anything that they're going to be able to do, it looks like Belichick can put anybody into that system and have him work. I mean, at this point, it looks like Brian Hoyer can even have a starting job, and we'll see if the Patriots have success with him, which if you look at everywhere else he's played, even like the Browns, I think he used to play for, he had plenty of starting jobs all over. As he said, he's a journeyman. He's going to be – at this point, who knows? And it's just everyone has gotten used to it, especially if you're an NFL fan. It's just the Patriot way. They just pull anything out of their butts and they just figure it out, and that's all because of how smart Belichick can be. And I mean, it just shows how the people are believing. But like going back to what you said about Cam Newton and all that, I also asked him about like if you wanted a quarterback. He either said he wants them to either draft a quarterback, or this is another direct quote. He said if we don't get Cam Newton, I'm gonna be mad. That's according to him. So he looks like he really wants Cam Newton. That shows like another. He's been a Patriots fan since the first championship, so he's a bandwagon fan, but from a longer time. So when they first won the Super Bowl, so he's been keeping up with the Patriots, so he knows a bit about them, and showing that how much he really wants Cam Newton shows that like Cam Newton. I don't know if he would fit into the system, but it shows that he's a very talented player, and showing what Belichick could do with pulling out the strengths in every single player. If Cam Newton can go back and become his prime self that he was in Carolina in his first few years, if Belichick is able to revive his career, the Patriots gonna do their Patriot way, and they're gonna be right back in the AFC East, winning it for like 25,000th time in a row. So that's just how they are, and the world's gonna end because the Patriots will continue their streak. I mean, Buffalo will still be up there and give them a run for their money, and Miami will be a dark horse. But the Patriots despite losing Brady, are still not going to die. just like the Emperor from Star Wars. You gotta do a little bit more than kill him. Then that's why there's 7 movies in Star Wars. But I don't know if the Patriots are gonna look to continue going. I mean, Jordan Love would be a good idea too. Going back to also what you said with him, but I don't think he'll make it that far with all the scouts talking so much good about him and all the teams that need a quarterback draft wise. And one of the teams might steal with them because the Patriots did make the playoffs, so they have a higher draft pick. But overall, I mean, whoever the Patriots pick, Belichick's gonna do his little magic that he has, his dark magic, and have them just start winning games once again. And we're gonna be back in the situation saying, when are the Patriots gonna start losing again? Because every year we have this same conversation for the last 15 years probably, and it looks like as long as Belichick is there, it looks like it's never going to end.
Oh, no, I think this is the end. Because I don't think any quarterback that they bring in, unless they turn into an absolute superstar right away, will save this franchise from being anything better than the Bills. So I think their division streak ends. I don't care how it happens. I think their division streak has no chance of continuing. When you lose Brady and you've lacked the pieces for so long, that I think now the Patriots just don't have anything to turn to. And they will probably still make the playoffs knowing what Belichick is able to do, but it won't be enough to win their division for sure. I can guarantee that.
Yeah. Them winning the division, I don't see that at all. I think the Bills will capture it this year, so you bring a good point there. In terms of magic happening for the Patriots, I do not see, like, if they decide to bring in a free agent like Cam Newton, like we say, I don't think he can, like, come back from injuries like the last 2 years and start being the superstar he was in 2015 when he won the MVP. There's no way he could do that with the lack of offensive weapons they have there. I mean, yeah, he's a mobile quarterback and all. Tom Brady was not, but you're asking Cam Newton to fill in the shoes of Tom Brady. That's not going to happen. So they're going to have to go via draft, or they're going to have to stick with Jarrett Stidham. And if they decide to do one of those two options, which most likely it seems like it because we've heard no news recently, they're going to be pretty bad. And bottom line is this: if you cannot score points with that offense, which most likely they're not going to win. The defense is going to have to win them games, just like the Bears did in 2018 for Mitch Trubisky. So bottom line is that, and I think they will miss the playoffs, even with the new CBA, because there's better teams in the AFC.
Okay. I disagree with you because I still think that as long as you have Bill Belichick, they're still going to be enough. They'll find their way. But that you're right. I think that the Patriots will nowhere near be around the top of the competition in the AFC. And so Patriots 6 or 7 would be my best guess in terms of seeding for the playoffs.
Okay.
I mean, we also were talking about Deshaun Watson earlier. I mean, with him fitting in, at this point, I don't know who the Texans would give up. I mean, Bill O'Brien would probably accept some more bags of peanuts and a few smaller draft picks, but for a like Deshaun Watson, just trading him away at this point. But I really just see these Patriots, whoever they have starting at quarterback, no matter who, the system that Josh McDaniels runs is super easy for any quarterback to fit in, and it's shown because they don't really show or throw the deep pass down every single time. They throw a bunch of slants and use the run game to their advantage. It's a very smart system, and these defenses have really never figured out this system yet because it's so hard to figure out because he's always running something every once in a while they will throw a deep ball, but it's just out of nowhere and catches the teams off guard as soon as they're actually running it. But I think it's the system that Belichick runs that it's just going to be way too easy for any quarterback at this point. Even with a Jarrett Stidham coming in, I mean, he could have the smallest amount of talent and Belichick will pull it out and then use it to his advantage. Like figure out that he's great at the deep ball or always great at throwing slants, have him do a bunch of that, and then have him improve on the stuff during the season, and then give him a year or two, and he'll magically be maybe Brady. But not many people think he's gonna be as good as Brady because it's hard to become one of the 6-time Super Bowl champ right away and having such high expectations, especially for a quarterback just coming in. It's a lot of high expectations for a guy like him, but that's what every quarterback has coming into England, and for any quarterback looking to even have a chance to play for the Patriots. That's what we're going to have to go to. So I think, as everyone's been saying, the scouts, I read on one of the ESPN's article about, or Bleacher Report's article about Stidham and how he's going to perform for the Patriots and what they think he's going to do. They said that he's not going to be as good as Brady, but he's going to surprise some people with his talents. So that's something to look forward to. See if Stidham is really worth it in the end. But we'll see if they draft a quarterback until April 23rd. See what they do, and we'll have a response about what really the Patriots are looking to do going into this 2020-2021 season and how they will perform without Brady.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point that he's not going to be Brady. Of course he's not going to be Brady. He's Jarrett Stidham. So he hasn't obviously played a bunch of games, and you have Bill Belichick as your coach, okay? Somehow, some way, the Patriots always find the way to be the Patriots, become great and annoy everybody within the United States besides their fans. So, yeah, I think they could be a potential threat. I don't see them being exactly lighting it up all year because I feel like the defense is going to carry them again. But if they do, I wouldn't be shocked.
All right, you got anything else to add, Matthew?
I think you guys have really all added what mainly needs to be added. I think here personally, I'll say one thing, real quick. I think what we had the first question was Cardinals or Texans would be better. I think Patriots will be better than the Buccaneers. If we want to bring that up real quick. I do. I think that the Buccaneers actually.
That's kind
What
of.
do you guys think? What do you guys think? Buccaneers or Patriots?
I think that'll be a topic for another day. We can talk about that.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a good idea. After the draft, maybe.
Yeah. Let's see what the Patriots do at quarterback. I think the real question is what the Patriots will finalize their decision as for their quarterback. And until then, I guess the Patriots are kind of a giant question mark.
Our final discussion will be over the CBA, which is a new rule the NFL is going to be implementing in the next few seasons that will be affecting the players and extending the playoffs. So, without further ado, Matthew and Luka, are you in favor of this new NFL CBA?
In terms of a fan's perspective, I am absolutely in favor of the new NFL collective bargaining agreement because it gives us fans more playoff games, more teams, and more regular season games starting in 2021. This is exactly what a fan wants, is more NFL games. And the perfect way for that. Now, for the players, on the other hand, I'm going to say this is disadvantageous for them because they have to play more games on their schedule and they don't get as much of a pay raise. But I'll start with the fan's perspective. All you want as a fan is more games to support your team. And with the NFL now giving us expanded playoffs and expanded regular seasons, it successfully caters to the fans. But for the players, they have to play more games now while getting not as much money proportionally in terms of their contract. They're only getting a 5% pay boost on all their contracts, whereas you're playing one more game that's about whatever. The math just does not add up. So for the NFL players, they're losing out, but for the fans, we're winning.
Yeah, I mean, this fans is 100% something we've been trying to get. It's as a fan, we've been trying to get this to happen 10 years ago, but the Players Association, the NFLPA, has always been shutting it down because the preseason, I don't know if it's 4 weeks of just complete boring preseason practice squads versus each other. It's not that fun. The players only play the starters only play for like the first 2 quarters, and they call it a real NFL game. But it doesn't even matter. People don't really go to the games. Seats are empty. They're not even really selling many seats. So it's been kind of a waste of money for the NFL to really be doing this. I mean, yes, they're able to broadcast the game still, and people still kind of watch it. At least us diehard fans kind of try and still watch the preseason. But getting rid of slowly but surely getting rid of those preseason games and adding one to the regular season makes it more exhilarating for the teams that miss out on that one last game. They'll have another chance opportunity. There's going to be 18 total weeks this time instead of 17 like they usually have because of the extra bye week. So it's an even number now, so we don't have to worry about that extra odd number. And the best part of all, there's one extra team that makes the playoffs every year. So that dark horse team that just barely made it will have a chance at it. And who knows? It's the 2v7. This is looking more like the NBA type of playoffs where it's 16 teams that make it, 8 from each team or 8 from each division. it 1-8 and all that, except for the teams with the best records in each division get a bye week. But the second place teams are not going to have to play. I think it's a smart idea. I mean, those bye weeks are cool and all, but come on, let the people play, add more games. It's more fun for us fans to sit and watch, because the playoffs are the best thing to happen, and it even gives that more opportunities for the players to actually make it farther in the playoffs. And who knows, we could have our UMBC of the NFL. I guess we connected at UMBC on our podcast once again. We got to keep our streak going. But
yes, sir.
For the players' side, though, it's, as you said, it's not really great. The rich are the ones that are getting affected the most, because the people with the highest contracts are losing money basically on this, whereas the players who are the no names that still play in the NFL, like the practice squads, they're actually getting a raise. They're getting paid, I think, an extra $10,000 more to make it. My numbers aren't probably correct, but they're definitely getting paid more, so that everyone is sort of agreeing with it. And when this first came out, the people who came out and said it, like J.J. Watt, Richard Sherman, they were firmly against this, and it looked like it wasn't even going to get passed. It was a huge debate. There were even the Pouncey twins who went over beyond kind of, I can't really say it because their words are very derogatory that they use to describe the CBA, but they were very not happy with it, so to speak. But in the end, it got passed. Many of the I believe almost a third of the players didn't even vote. So because of that, people with the smaller people won, so to speak. The smaller, lesser known players won, and the season is getting expanded. They're getting paid more. Another thing in the CBA is that they don't have to train as much too. That they're going to have time to, like, they don't have to attend those hard practices all the time. They're going to be shortened, so the players aren't getting killed all the time. They're going to have more free time to do whatever they want, which as a player is probably huge, because everyone deserves their free time. They don't have to be forced to do things, especially as an athlete. Personally, having to do like practice for so long, it gets annoying sometimes. As much as I love practicing, it can get annoying. So shortening the practice, especially the hard ones, is a great thing for the players. There's pros and cons to each side, but to me, I think the pros outweigh the cons, and that's why I believe it got passed, and that's why I think it's a great deal for the NFL and a great deal for publicity-wise to continue their rise as the best sport in the U.S. of the A.
Yeah, you both bring up really good points of different perspectives on this. Yes, players side, this is not exactly the best deal. Like Ethan, like you said, the higher paid players who are actually losing money, while the no-namers are getting actually paid more. So yeah, that actually makes sense. And yeah, most players are not liking this. I heard Eric Reed, a former Panther, did not like this either. He used a lot of derogatory terms in his tweets, so let's not bring that up. When you talk about a business point, the NFL just made a huge cash splash right here, because there's more profits being made in everything from ticket sales to TV deals. So they're making even more money right now. And the preseason now is 3 games instead of 4. So that's less useless football and more football that fans actually want to watch. Now, when you talk about the playoffs, we're talking about expanding from 12 teams to 14 teams. That's actually, many people probably won't think that's a lot, but it's actually a lot. There's a lot more football. So instead of there only being 2 wild card teams in each league, there are now going to be 3 wild card teams in each league. In addition to that, there's instead of being the 2 first round buys, there's going to be 1 bye in each conference with whoever has the best record. Now, the second seed in each league, they're going to play the 3rd wild card during the wild card weekend, which there's going to be 3 games on Saturday and 3 on Sunday, which we all want to see, because in football, unlike basketball and hockey, it's you win, you advance, you lose, you go home, which I like about football is because it's very fun to watch, and like it's pretty awesome, like whoever advances or loses, because it could be predictable or not. So if we were to put this change in last season, the 8-8 Pittsburgh Steelers would have been the 7th seed in the AFC last year. And I like watching the Steelers in the playoffs, but last year, not personally, because Big Ben was out, so that wouldn't have been that much fun to watch.
Quack.
Then the NFC, you got the Los Angeles Rams. They were 9-7. Now, when you're talking about 9-7 Rams, you look at the Eagles, the Cowboys, that division, and you're like, the Eagles got the division crown with 9-7, but the Rams were 9-7, didn't make the playoffs last year because of this new CBA thing wasn't there. That's the thing that's going to get multiple teams with this now. It's going to give them opportunity to actually be part of the playoffs, because we all know about the division with the Eagles and the Cowboys. Cowboys, they'll somehow, some way, find a way to not make the playoffs still.
7-9, so probably somehow.
It's the Cowboys. They don't know how
Welcome to Jerry Jones world.
They will find a way.
Yeah, go ahead. They will always find a way.
They will always find a way to let you down, Stephen A. right there. I'm telling you.
And then watch the Cowboys go 12-4. But it's only a matter of time before the Cowboys finally get something going their way. But anyway, I think that this playoff format drastically changes the playoffs in a way that I don't think a lot of people see. The Chiefs would have had to go through 3 playoff games before the Super Bowl last year, which is a major, major difference than it would have been. And teams like who was the 2 seed last year in the NFC? Real quick, the Niners were the 1.
The Packers, I think it was.
Yes,
thank
you.
The Saints.
Packers would have played Saints were the 3 because they lost to the Vikings in the first round. Okay. Packers versus the Rams last year could have upset the Packers. So this is why these 2 seeds are very unpredictable. Instead of there being 2 buys, and now there's only 1. So there's a lot more pressure on teams making the buys, because a 2, 3, and a 4, you still host a home game no matter what. This changes a lot of things, though, because it makes the 1 seed in every conference the clear and easy favorite to make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, it's giving the 2 seed an opportunity too. I mean, teams like the Titans, they're giving them more of a chance. Like the Titans had their magical run. We'll hopefully be able to see more of those magical runs, and who knows, we'll have the Cinderella stories just like March Madness has every year. We're going to have those in the NFL, which usually doesn't happen because of the few teams that really even make the playoffs, but giving 2 more teams another opportunity. Cinderella really will have her chance, whoever team they choose, or whoever has an opportunity to beat the 2 seed, and then I have to go up against probably the 1 seed, or however that system's going to work out, we'll have to see. But no matter what it is, I mean, if they're able to, the 7 seed is really able to do anything and have that magical run, it'll be definitely fun to watch, and it'll definitely bring in some more viewers and really make it more entertaining to watch the NFL.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the CBA definitely gives us viewers and fans and even media people more opportunity to talk about football. And I mean, players' perspectives, obviously it's not the best because injuries can occur at the worst times. And then, oh no, we may lose now because of this. But I haven't heard players like come out and say, "Ooh, this is the best idea." But like, I mean, the NFL made a huge cash splash just by doing this. So by using this new CBA, because the playoff format's going to start next year, not the 17 games, but the playoff format will start next season, this upcoming season, I shall say. So let me ask you guys this. In the AFC, the Steelers would have gotten in last year with an 8-8 record. That's pretty insane. So let's talk about who will make the playoffs this upcoming season when using this CBA.
Ethan, you want to go first?
I could probably start it off because this edition will definitely, especially I'll start off in the NFC because the NFC is absolutely loaded this year with teams. The NFC North, the NFC West, and the NFC South have been so many teams have always been just out of it. Every single year you had Minnesota just barely get in and the Rams just barely miss out. You always have the Seahawks always just sneaking their way in. It's the Rams, the Seahawks, the Cardinals, the 49ers. They're all 4 in the same division. Allowing another 3 teams, that entire division, like they actually can, all 4 of them. It probably is not going to happen, but all 4 of them could really make the playoffs, every single one of them. But it's probably most likely not going to happen because of all the division games that they have. But if they all somehow end up like a 9-7 or something like that, which technically on paper it can happen, but between all allowing all these teams to have another opportunity is great. That's why it's going to be someone from the NFC West that sneaks in as that 7th seed, and that's why I think at least there's going to be so much battles between everything. I think there's going to be at least 2 teams that make it from the NFC South, which leaves 2 spots left, and that's why I think 2 teams from the NFC West is going to make it. It's probably going to be the Rams are going to revive their season, and I really think the Seahawks are still going to be back in it. But I probably have the Seahawks as this number 7 seed going in because they're going to be losing Jadeveon Clowney. That's a big key of their defense, but they are replacing him with Bruce Irvin. And Russell Wilson is still able to do his magic. So as long as he stays healthy and Pete Carroll continues doing him, they're going to look like they're going to be continuing their playoff streak. I believe they've been making the playoffs like every year for a while. So I think they'll be one of the better dark horses for them. And then for the AFC is a lot more different than the NFC because they have a lot more teams that are struggling. Gosh, who would sneak in? I mean, someone maybe like an Indianapolis or someone like I don't know, maybe even a Cleveland, like an Indianapolis or a Cleveland. Cleveland could finally make the playoffs. I think this would be their year if Cleveland could finally figure it out and Baker Mayfield could revive his thing and Freddie Kitchens can actually fix it. I think he's still on part of the Browns, but I mean the Minnesota offensive coordinator, Cleveland Browns head coach. I'm forgetting his name.
Kevin Stefanski.
Thank you, Stefanski. If he's able to fix their problems that they've had and be able to get Baker Mayfield to actually throw the ball correctly into these amazing wide receivers that they have and run the ball correctly and discipline all their players to make sure Myles Garrett doesn't throw any more helmets at anybody, I think these Browns really will be able to sneak into the playoffs and finally have a winning record. Yes, the Browns with a winning record. So
I'll go next here. I think in the NFC, you've got – I'll just go real quick. Packers, Cowboys. I still think they'll find a way. They will.
Find your sheet that we had.
Saints, 49ers, Seahawks. Ooh.
Who's your seventh?
I have a clear 6, and I'm going to throw in a bit of a bold prediction for 7, and I'm going to go ahead and say we were talking about how the Cardinals aren't going to make the playoffs, but now that I think about the NFC, I don't know. I'll say Falcons.
Okay.
I think Cardinals or Falcons you could intertwine in there. And then for the AFC, Jaguars, just kidding.
If you said that, this is over. If you say that.
Yeah, I know. That's why I just had to say. I just had to see your reaction. Steelers, Bills, easily. Did I say Steelers? Back that up. Ravens, Bills. Why am I forgetting? Oh, Ravens, Bills, Titans, Chiefs. The AFC East has got the Patriots, but I don't think anybody else. Sorry, Ethan. Wow, the AFC is terrible.
I told you.
I said this is my bold prediction in our last podcast, and I'll say it again. I'll put. Do I want to put Denver in there? I don't know.
You said yes. Denver last time, and you took your statement back. So I don't know if you want.
I'm gonna say Chargers. I think the Chargers do something, and I'll go Miami for 7.
Woohoo!
I'll go Miami as the third team in the AFC East.
Fitzmagic is gonna get his first time in the playoffs, baby, or second time.
It won't
right?
be him; it'll be Tua. But eventually, eventually, once he takes over.
Listen, if the Dolphins somehow make the playoffs next year, I owe Ethan a huge apology, okay? Because I don't see that. I don't see that at all. Now the AFC may suck, but I mean, the Dolphins. I mean, the last time they were good, I don't know how old we were, but it's been a while. So
2016. 2016.
Thank you. I totally pay attention to the Dolphins, as you guys can see. But yeah, I like your guys' predictions. Did anyone pick the Buccaneers? I don't remember hearing the Buccaneers.
Yeah, Buccaneers are my first wild card.
Oh,
okay. They're actually going to be my first as well. None of you said. I didn't hear San Francisco from one of you.
San Francisco is my NFC West.
Okay.
I only named the wild cards. I thought that's all you were asking.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, like, where's San
Francisco definitely making it. That's a no surprise to me. Okay. They're definitely going to be back.
Yeah. The Patriots once again making the playoffs. If they do, they're the third wild card team. That's all I can see from them. If not, they'll miss it. That's just how it's going to be. As much as the AFC is weak, that's why they would have a shot. If they were in the NFC, no chance. None.
That's crazy, like, thinking about that after so many years now, how the Patriots are barely clinging onto a possible playoff spot, just how the dynasty truly is over for New England.
Yeah. And it's a little scary now that we're actually talking about, because we've been watching them for years and years with championships and playoff attempts. And now we're talking about if they could potentially not make the playoffs.
Well, you guys don't really have much of a more personal connection where I've had to deal with him because we're the Dolphins are in the same division as him. I had to deal with him for years upon end. This is the first time as personally, and I've been a fan since 2008. This is the first time I've been a fan of the Dolphins where Brady will not be the starting quarterback for next year for the Patriots. So this is going to be new to me too. I've been hating him no matter what game is on. I have had to deal with him 2 times a year, every single year, and it was all thanks to the Dolphins for ending his time in New England. So I take full credit for the Dolphins too for ending his career there, as they set up the Titans to lower the sword or whatever you want to call it, to end their dynasty completely, because as I keep becoming more and more biased towards the Dolphins, but as much as it is for the Patriots making the playoffs, I still don't see them making it. I see the Dolphins being that dark horse team, getting up ahead of Brian Flores. No one's paying attention to them because they're irrelevant, and they've been irrelevant for the last 4 years while they've been tanking. But now that they got a new head coach from this Patriot Belichick system, it looks promising, because every other coach that has come out of the Belichick system hasn't really shown leadership. They've been all egoistic, as you've seen with Matt Patricia and Josh McDaniels when he tried to go to Indy and then said nah after a week. And then plenty of anyone else. And even Bill O'Brien, I'm pretty sure, was from that Bill Belichick era.
He was.
He was from that. So yeah. It shows that these coaches don't really work out. But what Brian Flores is culture-wise is being built in Miami. The reason why the Dolphins had so many signings because the people want to go there. People want to go play for Brian Flores, the head coach. And it's showing that people have respect for him. And the more respect that the Dolphins start getting, the more players are going to want to come to Miami, and the better we'll get. And that's why I think they're going to be a sneaky dark horse team to look after. I'm definitely putting money on them in Vegas. I'm not old enough, but I'm using my dad. So,
when you talk about Tua coming, if they select him for the number 5th overall pick, why not? I mean, I could see them sneaking in there for the number 3, but it really depends what they decide to do. Yeah, I remember that game against the Patriots. The Dolphins ate their lunch in that game for sure. Patriots defense, where was it?
Gillette Stadium.
Yeah, and Gillette Stadium. Yes, that was also Gillette Stadium. So, so the Dolphins, I thought they actually played good. I haven't said that in a long time, but I thought they actually played pretty decent in that game.
For being called one of the worst teams ever in the start of the year, after having like 115-point differential, like by far setting records of being the worst, to winning 5 games and being better and having the Bengals be 10 times worse than them was definitely – it made me feel better after I got so much hate for being a fan, especially at school. Definitely got some not happy comments towards me, but I got to prove it to them towards the end. That's why, I mean, the more this team gets better, more jobs are going to drop, more people are going to open up their eyes and actually see that this team really has potential. And that's why I think it's going to be a fun team to watch in this 2021 season, especially that whoever they draft at quarterback. I believe they've singled it down between Tua and Herbert, but as much talk as they say about Herbert, Tua's really been their guy. Their agent and the Dolphins general managers are best buddies. They've been talking with each other publicly on Twitter and how much they love each other, complimenting each other left and right. So that's why I think the real option is the Dolphins are going to go all out for Tua. And if worse comes to worse, they might have to even trade for him if Detroit, for some reason, I don't know why Detroit would pick a quarterback, but that's the only person that really would pick a quarterback ahead of them besides Joe Burrow. And that's the only team that really – or Washington too. I mean, Washington doesn't need 6 quarterbacks on their roster. But besides that, I think the Dolphins are going to get Tua. Definitely a team to keep an eye out for. And I'm going to keep my bias and say the Dolphins are making the playoffs next year.
Hold on. First of all, if Washington decides to select a quarterback, they're crazy. They have Dwayne Haskins, who they got last year, so believe in him first. And then they got, what's his name? Kyle Allen now on there. So I don't see why they need a quarterback. Huh?
I think Colt McCoy did leave. They also still have Alex Smith under contract, I believe, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they still have Colt McCoy too.
Oh, Lord.
So they have a mess. That's the point. So I do not see them drafting Tua. There's no reason. And then Detroit,
5 quarterbacks.
Plain old respect for Matt Stafford. That's just plain old disrespect to Matt Stafford. Why would you do that?
Well, I mean, the Lions definitely.
Revival.
Stafford is on an expiring. His timeline is expiring. How's that? And so I wouldn't be absolutely stunned if he gets drafted in Detroit. I'm not saying they should. I just wouldn't be surprised.
Okay. All right.
Oh, well, we'll try and stick more towards our playoff predictions. So
Or you trade up to 3 and you don't worry about it. There's that too.
We'll save the draft for next week because that's when it's actually going to happen, hopefully. Virtual draft. Stay tuned for that. We'll have to go full virtual.
Yeah, we got
Zoom
we got a long NFL season ahead of us for sure. So
we do.
Let's see what happens.
Oh, well, but if there's any more predictions, we'll definitely state them, probably especially after the draft, because things are going to definitely change. We're going to actually have answers instead of question marks compared to what these teams are going to do. So stay tuned until then. But other than that, you could do the outro.
Thank you guys for staying all the way to the end of this video. It really appreciates us for anyone that really watches this videos as we're beginning to start up our channel. But make sure you guys are subscribed, like this video, turn on your notifications because we want to know that you guys like our content, what we can improve on, maybe add a few comments letting you know what you guys think of our videos. But besides that, once again, thank you for staying to the end, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.